So, God states to me personally that his favorite story about me is actually similar to how he had me reading To Kill a Mockingbird. And it's one of those out of time experiences that he plays over and over and over and over again and wants me to share it with you. However, I'm only going to share it in the circumstances in which are true to nature, regardless to everyone's universe, because I don't know how many times he actually played it. But I assume the amount of times that he replayed that day honestly would be identical to the amount of times of I actually exist in our universes. So I used to cry a lot in middle school because I'd wake up from dreams in the middle of the night after learning about myself and having dreams I didn't like. They weren't nightmares. They were romantic. They just weren't with the people everyone expected it to be with. And so I'd cry a lot, hard, often, wondering what was wrong with me. And then my mom got dial-up internet. And I found out there was nothing wrong with me at all. In fact, there was quite a large and robust audience of individuals who also thought identically the same thing. But in the circumstances every single day when I'd go to school, the same person I was praying to also was identically one of my closest friends. Weirdly, I called him Pastor Anderson. And I call him Pastor Anderson because I'm abstractly calling him and your son, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And your son. It's a very common name. So I called him Pastor Anderson because it was quite an adorable name for him. Because he was quite the pastor. In fact, even brought me once over to his church one evening and wanted me to confess sins in front of the church. And I didn't understand why, because I wasn't evil in the slightest. The closest thing I am to evil is I own a devil tarot card t-shirt, but I don't believe the devil actually exists. In fact, I believe that when Jesus Christ died for everybody's sins, he did also get to go to heaven and hell, both, and bridge the gap between the two. And that when that occurred, well, Satan is no longer Satan and he becomes Lucifer. And then Lucifer is actually a divining hand of sin to help bridge people back to heaven and to ascension. Because we are all made of sin, every last one of us. I'm made of sin. I lived in an area where as a child, I'd question why I was incorrect to the environment. And no one would tell me why. I found out much later, honestly. But it doesn't mean I want to change who I am, because that would then inevitably ruin a whole future of people who also should learn the same thing. Now, the reason I found out these dreams and the reason why I found out why I was breaking my own heart every night was because my mom wanted a little girl. So badly, in fact, that she had 5 children just to try to have a girl. And then only after she had a miscarriage right before me, and she's like, maybe I gotta try again. And then I'm the only redhead out of all 5 boys. And then she's like, maybe one more time. And then the last one was blonde. So if she had to take the insight of anything from her own personal faith, which I like to eradicate and destroy, because I don't believe that the blonde hair, blue-eyed effect is actually true to nature. However, the baby eye is actually true to nature on the fact that it just doesn't have the soul encapsulated yet. It exists. It always has and always will. It's just dependent upon, are we going to reuse another one and then make you have to learn a lesson? Or are we going to make a new one? Because if you waited for God, God will gift you a new soul. If you didn't, we're going to reuse one so that way we all learn our life lessons. And then you still get to have your child. But if you're upset you didn't get a new soul, you didn't wait long enough. Now, that's how reincarnation occurs. And that's exactly the reason why God bestowed it upon me in my favor, in my circumstances, because of exactly that situational hazard. So his favorite story about me as a child strictly was that counter argument with Pastor Anderson every single day during PE, because for some reason, I just couldn't for the life of me, knowing I had those dreams, also feel comfortable also changing in front of those people. And I was very blessed to have such a very divine little child be my friend during physical evaluation, because I only took the class once a week, and I just so happened to be blessed to also have him in my class with me. It was a pretty big middle school. So to have that luxury of also having someone there guiding me and assisting me while I was upset with my own life, and then be my friend. And granted, he doesn't necessarily know why he is truly my friend in my soul, because we don't talk anymore at all. But getting to go to school and getting to actually have that counter argument and just getting to actually be abrasive to each other was like the stepping stone of how to actually release a lot of that tension when it came to my mental strain. Because during the same circumstances, I had already been baptized by the Church of the Nazarene. So it wasn't like I didn't actually have some sort of Christianity bestowed upon me. But I do know that every single day after school, before I'd go to bed and cry, I was really, really, really into Sabrina the Teenage Witch and The Worst Witch on the BBC, and I really liked Harry Potter. I loved the Harry Potter series. I was so infatuated with Harry Potter, I actually even dyed my hair maroon because my mother wouldn't let me dye it brown for Halloween, and she only let me use semi-permanent dye because she didn't want me to actually dye my hair color out. I wanted to be Harry Potter. I'm clearly a Ron Weasley, but I really wanted to be Harry Potter. I really wanted to. I cried. I cried when I found out that they actually had casted an actor for Harry Potter. And that was the only second other circumstance in which I actually had tears as a child. It's because I didn't get to be Harry Potter, and because I didn't understand myself. And both of those circumstances were resolved with that child. Both of them. During PE, once a week. And then all we did was we just argued every single day. But for some reason, that year was like the longest year I ever experienced in school, but it never felt like it. It always felt like a regular school. Just a regular school day. I was a decent school student. I wasn't amazing. Like, I'm an artist. I like to believe that all artists drop out at some point and then they have to praise their deity a little bit closer to home in order to be able to also benefit from the prosperity of such circumstances. Because the intellectual knowledge should actually be all-encompassing regardless of anyone's personal opinion. So, in these circumstances where I'm constantly, we're just walking the path. It's like a mile loop around the football field or something like that. And every day during PE that we have this, I'm actually just having that conversation with him. And I'm having that conversation with him so much about literally how I'm a devil worshiper because I like Sabrina the Teenage Witch and Harry Potter, and how I have a Book of Shadows that literally just had plagiarized information from Silver Ravenwolf and other story authors for Wicca. And that was it. I just had a bunch of plagiarized information in this little personal book, and I called it my Book of Shadows. And that's essentially what you were supposed to do. You were supposed to take insight, and then you were studying, and then you just go ahead and you rewrite it, and you make it your own. Well, my current Book of Shadows here is still in the works. But it's actually my Bible, my personal Bible. Now, I don't plagiarize anymore. All the information I'm actually bestowed upon actually comes through my head. And it's weird, and it's abstract, and there's a lot of it. And none of it is story. It's all just insight and intellect and knowledge. But when it comes to the weirdness of how I wanted to do such things as a child, and how I have to actually bridge gaps in this reality, it makes me feel a lot more important to Mr. Anderson. A lot more important to Mr. Anderson. Quite a lot more important. Now, honestly, when I was a child and we'd have these arguments, I was emotionally in love with the arguments me and Mr. Anderson would have. Emotionally in love with it. Because I actually considered him quite a really good friend, even though we never agreed at all. And I loved it because it was like the best emotional empathy of quite an intellectual design that we just both understood each other. We both just understood each other. And I didn't know over time I actually would be Christian, because afterwards,